Stampers, it's Christy with Stampin' Texas. In this video, I am going to be sharing with you not necessarily a project idea today, but I wanted to share with you some different tips and hints when watercoloring. This seems to be a question that I get asked a lot, is how to do watercoloring and what are the best steps and what kind of supplies I would need to watercolor. So I thought I would answer that question here in a video form. Now, the reason why I've set these two items out is first I wanted to show you that this was a card given to me as a swap from my good friend Terry. Now, Terry actually didn't do this coloring inside. She stamped the black butterfly on this card, and it was black, and I started playing with watercoloring and adding some color to this side. So later in the video, I'll show you how to add some color to that side. But for now, I wanted to use this little stamp set. I just think this is so cute. Every bunny from the catalog. And it's a good set to show how to do basic watercoloring because of the little areas inside. This is called an outline, I guess, stamp set. And we're going to color inside to add a little bit of color and pop to it. Now, the product I'm going to be focusing on today are blender pens. Blender pens come in a pack. You get 3 of these in a pack, and they're both double tipped, which is really nice. I find blender pens very easy to use. They're quick, simple, and I'm going to show you how we can use blender pens to color in an image. So all I've done is taken this little guy from Every Bunny, and I've stamped it on with StazOn on Whisper White. I highly recommend using StazOn. It's a permanent ink, and when we start blending colors, the ink won't bleed. So you need to make sure to have that. Now, there's different ways for blender pens to function. You can use an ink pad. So there's a couple things here. If I squeeze this ink pad, like so, just gently, I'm going to get some of the ink onto the lid, which is a good thing. Because you can take the blender pen directly to the ink pad or just pick up a little bit of ink here and kind of have a little palette. And let me show you what I mean. So I've got my blender pen. Now when they're brand new, they look really nice. And over time, they will stain. But don't worry, there is not color on there anymore. Because after I use one color, I'm going to wipe the tip clean to pick up another color. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take a little bit of this ink. And I can go directly to the middle and get a lot of ink. I can kind of work myself around, just picking up a little as I go. And then you're going to just go right to the paper. And you'll notice as you start to color, the pink will go lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, can you see that? It started off dark when I had the most ink, and as I went, it got lighter. So you can do different techniques, kind of play with it to do different shading ideas. And see how it's almost gone there? So you're working with a little bit of color each time and adding on and adding on. Now, the other thing to do, if you don't have an ink pad, but if you do have a marker like this, you can do the same technique. I'm going to take my blender pen, pick up a little bit of color off that, and just start coloring. Okay, same idea, you're just needing some ink. Now, I'm going to switch from an ink pad, and I'm going to show you the watercolor pencils. These are really fun to use as well. But before I get my watercolor, I'm going to take my scratch paper. Remember I said we want to make sure it goes clean. So just see how it goes clear. You can tell by the color there was pink on there, but it's not got any more of that on there. So now with the watercolor pencils, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and kind of scribble color in here. This is almost like coloring for adults. I love it. And then all the blender pen does is it takes out all those scribbly lines and really makes the color pop. Can you see that? So no more scribbly lines. It really just blended it together. So that's a fun use of the pencils. Now, again, I'm going to take my little scratch paper, just make sure that's all wiped off. Now let's get back to that butterfly. This butterfly is from the spring catalog, and it's a new one. It's so beautiful, and I like it plain, but I also like it when I can add a little color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside some of these pencils. This is kind of the, whoops, let me put these back in order. These are the watercolor pencils that I used to do this side, and I'm going to now color in the right-hand side of the butterfly and just show you how fun it is and how easy it is. And you know, there's no right or wrong when it comes to different watercolor techniques. It really just comes to what you prefer, and it's good to try out a bunch of different ways of watercoloring. The blender pen is just one way, one tool with that coloring. In other videos, I'm going to be showing you aqua painters, and we're going to even be doing some watercoloring with just water and paint brushes. But see how I'm just adding color like this? And you don't, when you're watercoloring with blender pens on regular, like white cardstock, you don't want to keep going over and over and over it, because that paper, it'll become so saturated it'll get a little bubbly. So just kind of know that. But again, just play with it. Play with it and see what you like. Alright, well, you get the idea. So now that I've added some color, and I don't want those little color lines, I want everything to blend together, I'm just going to go through here and see how that's pulling all the colors out like that. Isn't that a neat effect? And then I'm going to go back in and maybe add a little more red or a little more yellow here and there. But it just pushes the color out and blends all of them together very nicely. So there you have a fun way of watercoloring using blender pens. So be sure to be watching for my other videos on how to watercolor with different tools. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you enjoy trying out this new technique.